It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here doing some last-minute research on his phone, and
he's asleep.
Joe is
not never asleep.
He had too much to eat on Christmas, which we'll get to. But Joe is with us in the booth, and you're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast, and 790 The Score. And you can give us a call and heated hotline, 855-313-PATS. Leave us a call 24/7. Mark, we had a lot of them. We had to combine them into a segment. That's how many we had for Bruins and Celtics today. So we did that today. But yeah, give us a call, 855-313-7287, or in our mailbag, email us, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, got a good one. Got a lot of catch up to do in Weekly Rewind. We're going to talk about that Denver game out in Christmas Eve that we were all wrong about again. But we're going to talk about that. And does that change anything? And of course, Catone's comments. Stick around. You never want to miss that. And we're going to talk Bruins and Celtics in B's and C's, and welcome in the Pats Nation for our Buffalo preview for the New Year's Eve matchup. And of course, Sunday spread, which I think we were okay with last we were. I think I was.
I was like 500 again, I think.
Yeah. Well,
So,
depends on how much you put on each one. So we'll get to all of that in Sunday spread. Gentlemen, how was Santa good to you both?
Oh, very nice. Had a good. It was good. Very nice. How about you?
Right. He did all right, I'll say.
What's the best thing you got, Joe?
What's the best thing I got?
Or maybe the only thing you got?
The only thing I got
Received
was, we got listen.
Put him on the spot, Mark.
We go gift cards. Yeah. You know what? I used to get on the spot every Christmas morning from my neighbor. This kid would call. What'd you get? I'm like, dude, every year with this thing. Immediately. No, we got a lot of mix of good stuff, different, clothing, much needed clothing and gift cards and things like that. It was awesome. It was good. There was no one thing, but a multitude of ones.
You didn't get anything from your neighbor. I mean, you push him down in the snow. How are you going to get anything from him?
He brought me a nice bottle of bourbon, my neighbor. He peed in the bottle. That's what he did for me.
Did you get anything good, Mark? What'd you do? How'd you do?
And listen, at my age, with 2 kids in college, what am I getting? I'm lucky I got a T-shirt, a Hanes T-shirt. I'm lucky. Hanes, you want to be a sponsor? Hanes.
Oh, all right. Okay. I got a shop vac.
What kind of shop
Listen,
vac? Like the
listen,
big,
you know that's a problem
one.
when you're excited over a shop vac.
I like it. I'm
Listen.
ready to use it. In fact, I may flood my house just to be able to use it. No, the best thing was a cool, my first apparel for my son, going to be going to college now.
That's
and
nice.
the school he chose gave me the cool hoodie. I'll wear it on the show. University of Montana. So
very nice.
Very excited.
All right.
Yeah.
Montana, very
can't
nice.
wait to go visit and all that. So listen, guys. Look,
you visit in the middle of the winter.
I'm glad you guys got everything you wanted, including Mark's Hanes T-shirts, and everybody out there. I hope you all got what you wanted too. But looks like the Patriots got what they wanted, and we're going to talk about that in Weekly Rewind. We're going to do it now. Going back through the week, about a Weekly Rewind. So they go out to Denver in the House of Horrors, like we talked about, and they win, Mark, on Christmas Eve. They win 26-23, the Patriots being. So, hey, listen, I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that didn't want to see that because it affects the draft pick, but it really didn't affect the draft pick. They're still sitting in the number 3 spot.
Well, you dropped one spot, though, Chris. You did drop a spot. But relatively speaking.
Weren't they 3 coming in, though?
No, I think there were 2. They had the tiebreaker.
with
There were
Arizona.
there were 3 going into the game because Arizona's game had already finished. But if New England had lost, New
Yeah, they
England
would have
would have
been
been
2.
back into 2.
Well, so they're in the number 3 spot. But Mark, what did you see? Because the offense, they put up 26 points.
So before I get into the offense, Chris, let me just
Yeah.
preface this by saying this. This was
Joe, don't
how-
you get nervous every time he says I'm prefacing something?
no.
Let me
Let me just say this, Chris,
Hold
because
your
you already
breath.
said, "Oh, the offense scored 26 points." So you're one of those people.
I'm not. I'm just saying they scored 26
You're one of
points.
You're one of
Trying
these
to give you
people.
a segue.
So what
into
they
the
did
offense.
was they played. Bill Belichick got to play what he wants to do, which is archaic, play field position, get a turnover, a special teams turnover, score a touchdown, play that type of a game, play conservative, every so often take a shot, have your defense dominate and your offense just be a contributor enough to win the game, which is what they did. And that's what he did in 02, 03, 04. But listen, what they did in Denver, Chris, is not something that's sustainable. It's not something that's going to get you into the playoffs. You played a bad team. And Russell Wilson stinks. And that was shown because now he's benched for the rest of the year. They already announced that. He'll be released at the end of the season, more than likely. Russell Wilson is a bum. He's a stiff. He should be out of football. To coach for Denver's archaic. He's another guy. The game's passed him by. So now let me get into the offense after I got that off my chest, because people are making way too much out of this. Way too much out of this. Offensively, Chris, what they did do is they did mix it up a little bit. What O'Brien did was he did create some situations where there was guys open, Chris, but it was still that short passing game. 5 yards, 7 yards, 10 yards. He had 2 passes all game besides the touchdown to Gesicki that he threw 50-50 balls up to Parker. The first one was a good throw. Parker came down with it, but I'm going to give Zappe credit. That first 50-50 ball, he put that ball exactly where it had to be for Parker to go up and get it. The second one,
That
Patrick
was the 30-yard. That was the 30-yard.
The one
catch.
in the fourth quarter to set them up for the field goal, Chris. Patrick Surtain's supposed to be a good corner.
He had a bad day.
That was atrocious, what he did on that second ball. Zappe played within the confines of the offense, Chris. I'll give him credit.
He was 25 of 33, 256. Similar numbers, by the way. We'll get to that as Russell Wilson. Very similar. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Mark, real quick, to your point, their number one target was Elliott with 11 looks. There you go.
There you go. But Chris, he did move up in the pocket a couple of times. Rather than running out sideways like he usually does, he moved up in the pocket and around a little bit. And I don't know if O'Brien worked with him during the week on that. He showed a little something he didn't show before. But Chris, listen, the first possession of the game, that fumble should have turned into points for Denver. Okay? Go for the field goal. Do something. Because if you put New England in a hole early, you know how that works out. So I think the coach for Denver stinks. But overall, listen, they played mistake-free football other than that first possession. The first play, but they did, Chris, what Belichick wants his offenses to do. That's what they did, and they won the game.
Well, Mark, they didn't run the ball. I mean, they only ran the ball 21 times. They only ran the ball 21 times.
But there was still ball control. There was still ball control, Chris. Still conservative. But I'm going to ask you this. How the hell did Denver play so much zone? Nobody in football wants to play zone against them.
I went back because I know you and I that night were talking about this a lot, about the zone versus man and how the hell can you play. When I went back and looked at it, they did play actually a lot of man. Okay, that was disguised.
Did they play man, or did they play man just on certain sides of the field?
Yeah,
the matchup, and then the other side of the field technically did play zone.
Yeah, that's a lot of. You and I talked about that a lot, and the differences between the two. I guess to the naked eye, people say, "Well, they're in man, or they're in zone, or they're in man, or they're in zone." It's not like that anymore.
It's not that simple, though, Chris.
No,
right?
You have different calls for different. What you're seeing for receivers on the other side of the ball. What personnel are they in? Are they in 10?
Yeah.
Are they in empty? what do they look like? And when you have a solo on one side, meaning one receiver, 3 on the other, and 10 personnel, meaning one back, no tight ends, and you have one single receiver on one side, usually there's going to be a solo call to that, corner that you're basically on him, man. I mean, the whole other half of the field is zoning up, So I think that you saw a lot of that. But I agree with you. There were a lot of times they were in zone, and Zappy was hitting those whole shots sometimes, and when he saw the one-on-one, that's those 2 times against Parker.
Yep.
Okay, when Parker was that defense, that was solo, that was man coverage on Parker all day long, and I think it was a product of how their alignment was, and it almost looked like they were wanting that matchup, the Patriots. Yep. So yeah, I'm with you. I thought wasn't so much about the coverage, was about the pressure. The pressure packages for Denver.
They only rushed 4, Chris, all night. Most of the night. They
blitzed some, but I thought they could have done a lot more. And I thought they could have got a lot of center pressure, and they didn't do it. But talk to me about Zappy really quick. I mean, did he grow up in this game to you? And the numbers aren't bad. I mean, he had a 117 passer rating. He, 25 and 33.
Well, I don't know if he grew up in a sense, Chris, that I think he did move up in the pocket. I think the throws that they did tell him, listen, take a shot, he put them where they needed to be. So in that sense, did he grow up? Well, I guess maybe. I don't know if he grew up, but he did what he was supposed to do. Listen, Chris, he's not a starting he's not a one quarterback in this league. Anybody who thinks he is, he isn't. No. He's a backup. Maybe he can give you 3-4 starts when he needs to, but he's not taking you where you need to be. So anybody who thinks that.
Is he a bridge guy? Because I don't think he is.
I don't think he's even a bridge guy, Chris. I know a lot of people are saying
that's basically a starter.
Yeah, coming off this week. Listen, Denver's a bad team, Chris. They gave up 70 points to Miami. 70 points. Then they got on a streak. They won 4 or 5 games in a row, Chris, but they beat bad teams. New Orleans not a bad team, but Denver was even winning those games, Chris, because of turnovers, because of different things. You beat another bad team. So I will say this, and I've said this numerous times during the course of the year. This was more about Denver than it was about you, because you played your game. This is what you want to play all year. You wanted to play this way, and you finally faced a team who allowed you to do that with success because Denver's so bad, Chris.
I thought Vance Johnson had a terrible game. The defensive coordinator for the Denver, I thought he had a horrible game.
Chris, I mean, on the other side of the ball, though, there were some bright spots on defense, like there has been the last several weeks. What do you got to say about the defense?
Well, like I always say, I thought they played well. I mean, here's the thing, though. They've been playing well, but they've been giving up points.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, you put this more on Denver's offense than credit to our defense while it was going on. I don't know if your opinion has changed since, but when Zappy coughed up that ball, the defense makes a goal line stand. Now I get it. There were things Denver could have been doing on offense in that situation that I was confused about the play call.
So, Chris, the first 3 downs
but they still
of that
held.
Possession, the first 3 downs of that possession inside the red zone, inside the 10, they didn't have a wide receiver on the field.
Yeah. The problem, the defensive front, as I said, played well. They played well. Bondmore was fantastic. And I think Bondmore has been having a borderline Pro Bowl season. I mean, I think he's worth the money. I think you pay him. He's grown up and he's become what we thought he could be. So great. I'm fine with the defensive front again. The secondary, look, they allowed 230 yards. They allowed 2 touchdowns. Again, I don't think the secondary is playing up to par. I really don't. But I think
they got a lot of injuries, Chris.
They got a lot of injuries. Denver didn't take advantage of the middle of the field. They didn't take advantage of the middle of the field. You saw one example on a 2-point conversion, and I know we got to go, but 2-point conversion, right? Bentley is late. It was a good design. They put a motion guy in. They dragged out either a back or a tight end out to the flat, and Bentley's job is to get over. But what I see is Bentley's play recognition was atrocious on that. He's scraping, so he's bouncing down the line. He finally sees it, and he's just running in quicksand. There's no chance he can get there. And that's my problem with this team. That's my problem with the defense. Their inability to get the sideline to sideline. And I thought Denver could have taken more advantage of it, and they didn't. And good for New England because they didn't take advantage of it. And I thought Russell Wilson was terrible in this
And they're
game.
starting their best receiver, supposedly, according on paper, Cortland Sutton, got knocked out in the first quarter. So
right on that 50-50
and whether that would have even made a difference, Chris, I don't know, because Russell Wilson was so bad. I don't even know if that would have made a difference.
Yeah, and so the only other thing I'll say about sort of the defense is special teams. It's bad. I mean, it's just not good. I watched the gunner on that. Is it Schooler? Is that his name? The number 41. I mean, I watched it the whole. I mean, he's a gunner on that punt. Normally, we don't talk special teams, but my God, I mean, I saw him take an inside release going down the field. The punt was to the left, and I'm watching it happen, Mark, and I'm like, he's giving up the edge right now. He's going to give up the edge to this returner, and lo and behold, he came down center. He didn't keep him on his outside shoulder, and boom. He gave up the big punt return. Special teams is a huge issue with this team, but defensively, hey, they're doing enough. I still think if you got a good offense, I still think this could be a playoff defense. I do. Injury free. Okay. So they won the game, good for them. They're in that number 3 spot now. We'll see what happens now against Buffalo.
No more wins, Chris. I'm a diehard fan. No more wins.
No more wins. So we'll talk about the Buffalo game coming up. But Weekly Rewind was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, buckle up. I can't even imagine what he's going to come up with after the holidays. Catone's Comments is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's Comments!
So this past week, of course, was Christmas. For those of you that do celebrate Christmas, and it's the holiday season. So my wife and I typically do host Christmas. We've been doing that now for several years, and people come for dinner, and then people come for dessert and coffee and after dinner drinks and all kind of different things, right? So, and we ask people to bring nothing. We do it all. We got everything from everything you could possibly want. We have it. Just come, enjoy the holidays, spread good cheer, and enjoy family and friends. Very cliche-ish, but that's the expectation, right? So, of course, nobody can follow the rules. Nobody can follow the rules. So, of course, they come in, right? They show up. Who comes in with I don't know someone? Well, they'll remain nameless. So someone comes in and they've got like paper plates and cups with them. And I looked, and my wife's giving me the eyes, like, please don't say nothing. And they said, "Oh, you don't have to waste dishes and cups when you have dessert and coffee." And I'm looking, and I'm saying, "Well, what? What? Paper plates and cups?" And listen, people do use them. I'm not saying anything about that, but not on Christmas at my house. We just don't do that. We take out the good stuff. We just don't do that. Then who's bringing in some kind of dessert? I don't even know what it was. I think it was actually moving. I think it might have moved. And I said to my wife, I said, "Get that thing outside on the deck because it's got a hot beat. I don't know what it is, but it ain't edible. That's for damn sure. Put it on the deck." And of course, I get the look. I don't want what? Listen, I'm just trying to be nice. Listen, I open up my home. Please just show up. That's all I ask you to do. So now, oh, the house smells so good. What are you having? Do you make a nice turkey? No, I didn't make turkey. Nope, no turkey. That's Thanksgiving. I don't do. Listen, The amount of money I paid for prime rib, they held me up without a gun. There was no gun involved. I just got held up for the amount of money I paid for this piece of meat. Okay? Then we have the typical Italian stuff. We had lasagna, we had antipasto, we had all that stuff. If you're an Italian American, you know what that is. Correct? Now, then, you don't go one of those chichudevi. I don't even know how to pronounce what the hell they were looking for. I said, no. We have it. It's called antipasto. That's what we have. Yep, that's what we got. Yep, no chichudevi. I don't even know what the hell it's called. All these fancy terms for these things. It's on some wooden board. Who the hell wants to eat something off of a wooden board? Anyways, you get splinters in your teeth, for crying out loud, right? So now, listen, we have the dinner, we get the dessert, we're having coffee. I take out the different after dinner cordials and desserts and coffee and liquor. And I got the glasses that go with what you're supposed to be drinking. You know, that's just how it is. So now one gentleman says, I'll try some of that. It was bourbon. It was good bourbon because I don't typically drink anything cheap because I just don't like the taste of it. If I'm going to mix it with something, I will. But so it was a decent, it was good bourbon. So I said, which one do you want? I got a whole selection. Try that. That sounds good to me, whatever it is. I don't know what I gave him. I give it to him. He says, I said, you want an ice cube or you want it neat? He says, no, put ice in it. I said, I put an ice cube in it. So I got the bourbon. The ice for the bourbon, it's a big chunk of ice that you put in so it don't melt. It melts very slowly so you can soak up the bourbon in the ice. That's how you're supposed to drink it. He says, what's that? I said, that's you said you wanted it on the rocks. Yeah, I don't want that. What's that big thing for? I said, all right. Well, what do you want? You just want ice from the refrigerator? Right. Okay, I'll give you crushed. What do you want? Crushed ice? What do you want? Okay, here you go. Yep. All right. Forget that. Put that aside. And he says, this is good. He said, it tastes like Canadian mist. Canadian mist. It's Kentucky bourbon. It's bottled in bond. It's 100 proof. This is a Canadian mist. It's $1.99. Canadian mist. I haven't seen that since I was about 8 years old with my grandparents in the 70s. Canadian mist. I said, I'm in the Twilight Zone over here. This is the absolute Twilight Zone. Canadian mist. So now everybody leaves. And I didn't talk to Chris on Christmas. It was the night before. So now everybody leaves. We clean everything up. I sit down. I'm in front of the television. And I take the bottle of bourbon. And I'm just going. And my wife said, for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, you listen on 7090. It was a big glass. And my wife said, what are you doing? I said, what am I doing? Do you understand and I love doing it. I love hosting Christmas. I love hosting. Do you know what I just went through? Never mind the stuff that ended up on the floor, crushed into, I don't even know how you could get it to stick so hard on a floor. I don't even know how you could get it to stick the way it stuck. I had to get it off hardwood floors. It was unbelievable. But hey, what are you going to do? Happy holidays are here. What are you going to do? This was my experience on Christmas Day, which, listen, I enjoy doing it, but it drives me crazy. Crazy, Chris. Crazy.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
I can't. It's a charcuterie board, Mark, which is basically a board that people put cheese and crackers.
Yeah, my
and
daughter likes to do it. I don't know what it is.
Crap, that the Irish people eat and the other people around the world and all those great cultures that aren't ours. I just have a quick. I can't tell Joe whether or not I feel like he's just an ungrateful Scrooge. Or that people brought him nice food and, were thinking about him and not having to wash dishes and all that. I mean, it's pretty nice. What did they actually bring? What was the food they brought again?
It was a dessert, Chris. I don't know. It was some kind of, I don't know if it was some kind of a cake, like a pound cake, sponge cake. I don't know what it was. It had stuff on it in different colors. It wasn't a fruit cake. That I know what that. I don't know what this actually was, Chris, but it really looked like it was moving.
Where is it now?
Well, my wife had to put it in the fridge, and then out
Where
of
did it
respect,
end up, Mark?
she took it out. No, she was good. She put it out, this and that. And I think the lady who brought it had a piece, and then when everybody left, it went double bagged it, and it went out with the trash that night.
The jelly of the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, okay?
But listen, Chris, I preface this by saying, listen, please just bring yourself. I want nothing. I just want to celebrate the holidays, Christmas. That's it. I need nothing. I supply everything you could possibly, just like you do, Chris. I supply everything you could possibly imagine. You don't need anything. You don't want to do anything when you come to my house.
Well, we have the exact same menu, which isn't a surprise. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I pickled the peppers in like October.
Oh, do you?
The pasta. Yeah.
Oh,
sister
wow.
and I do it. Anyway, same thing. Same stuff. Fennel, the fennel, the celery, all that crap.
Yep.
And we had prime rib, the same thing, and overcooked. But anyway, we had the prime rib, Montagorth, manicotti, for those of you out there that don't know, all the same crap. And I will agree with Joe, and I know, Joe, I know we're related, so I know you have the same thing too. I will agree with Mark in this one point, okay? Actually, all of it, but this point particularly is there's only a certain amount of people that I'll eat things that they make.
Yeah.
Okay. So like the message here in my house is if somebody brings something into this house to eat, I need to know what it is and what kind of plate it's in, because I ain't eating it. Like, I'm not having it. Like, I just don't, I can't, thank you. I appreciate it. But I don't know who had their filthy hands in it when they're making it. I don't know what, I know you people out there that think what an a-hole this guy is. You're all the same. Everybody thinks the same way. I'm just saying it. Okay. I don't want it. I don't want it. I can't eat it. Who's bringing deviled eggs? Deviled eggs? Get away from me with that. I don't want it. I don't know what is in it. It was a cat crawling around in there. I don't know what the hell's going on with all that stuff. So I'm with you, Mark. Don't take anything to my house. I mean, you're masking it by saying, hey, I got everything for you. Don't worry. Just bring yourself. You don't need. But what he's really saying is, I don't want to eat your food. I don't want to touch your food. Leave me alone with your food. Somebody says, I brought over some kind of Polish cookies, Polish Christmas cookies. I'm like, which ones are those now? Okay. You know where those are right now? The dog turned their face away to those,
Listen, I don't know.
I got to know who, first of all, Joe, don't you want to know who the hell is coming to your house? I mean, he said that this was the same stuff as last year that you said. Who on earth?
Well, no. Last year was
no.
Last year was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a little different. But Christmas, I have more people come for dessert, this and that. Thanksgiving's different. Thanksgiving's not as bad because it's only like my immediate family that come by. So it's nice, it's quiet, it's laid back. But Christmas is much more,
I mean, all the people I know, all your family and everybody that I would assume would be at your house, I know for sure that they understand all the traditions and know the food. Who the hell are these people that are coming to your house?
I can't listen. We're on television. We're on television. We're on the radio. We're on YouTube. I cannot disclose.
And that's more rhetorical.
Listen, it's bad enough. It's bad enough that I already brought up the plates and the cups. So now I've disclosed basically who they are. So it's bad enough. But Chris, I'm going to say this.
You did yourself a favor though, Mark.
Chris,
because then that person's never going to come over again.
Chris, the Canadian mist. Oh, it tastes like Canadian mist.
I don't even know what to say to that.
What? Canadian mist? Do they even make that anymore?
The irritating part of that whole story.
Joe, do they make Canadian mist anymore?
At the end of the bourbon, though. It's at the way end.
They still make it?
When they're done making all the good stuff, it's whatever's left over, they drain and they squeeze out of the barrel.
But like, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say because you. First of all, okay, the bourbon, because I know the whole thing is this. I mean, you poured that bourbon. Hey, that's not cheap stuff. I mean, you pulled out the the heavy hitters there.
I had good
And now
scotch. I had good bourbon. I had all
And now
good
you
stuff.
pour a glass of that, and now that gets put aside.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Because
That
I
is-
gave him the ice cube that it's supposed to be poured on, so you drink it with this big cube in it.
Yeah.
But no good. Okay, whatever. Listen, at
She
this
wants to know
point,
why
I
you
don't
were
even
drinking
care.
all that.
I don't even
Okay.
care. I don't even
Well,
care.
listen, out there, the moral of the story out there.
don't
for
go to
everyone-
the houses.
Yeah, for everyone listening, Mark just basically sent you a message through this show. Don't come over anymore, please. I'm going to extend the invitation, but I really don't want you to come. It's like
No,
saying,
if
does
they
anybody?
follow the rules, it's
hang
okay.
on,
Follow
hang
the rules.
Hang on 1 second, though. This is the hypocritical point I have to make. You two, as Italians, do you go to a party empty-handed? That's all.
Yeah, but you bring a bottle, Joe. You don't make some
Thank you,
sort of
Chris.
concoction in your
Exactly. I
in your
got you. I
laboratory.
got you something, but at least you don't go empty-handed. But yeah, I got you. Okay, a bottle.
Empty-handed. Listen, bring this guy a bottle of the bourbon he's talking about. That's now that's a nice thing to do. Without and no plastic cups to go with it. I mean, you're brewing up some friggin' concoction in your laboratory in the basement, and you're bringing it over like, oh, this is a tradition that we had going back to the old. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Leave me alone. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a message. So it's like saying, does anybody want the last piece? You don't really want them to say yes. That's the same thing as the invitation. So any invitation you get to Mark's house, unless you're in the circle, stay the hell home. Stay the hell home. Good stuff, Mark. Catone's Comments was presented by Corso and Catone, the real deal New England Field. Hey, Saturdays, 12 to 1 Eastern. Great sponsorship opportunities are available, and the opportunities are there. So we could do a read. Mark can handle it. Listen, he could sell anything to all those people coming to his house and bringing all kinds of food and dishes. So especially if you have a restaurant, go ahead, go to let Mark do the read. So Saturdays, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. Email us at corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, when we come back, going to talk Bruins and Celtics, B's and C's, all that and more. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crap
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England Field. Hey, listen, we had a ton of emails, Mark. We had a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
A lot of it Bruins, Celtics. Joe had some trouble picking one. So you know what? Let's talk about it in B's and C's. Joe?
Hit it! The Boston Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are.
That looks like Joe's Christmas gift to us, Mark.
Joe, I really like that.
Happy holidays.
There's nothing better than listening to Johnny Most. For those of you who don't know, the legendary caller of the Celtics games on the radio.
Listen,
We're really showing our age.
You have to when you represent the Celtics or present the Celtics rather. You gotta put Most in there. I mean, come on.
Gotta put him in.
There's not many voices on the aside from yours, Mark. There's not many other voices on the radio that you could distinctively know who it is besides him.
immediately. And in that promo, you didn't even need to say Celtics. You just have his voice.
Yeah.
Listen, for those of you who are listening on 790 and listening on iHeartRadio and everywhere else, hey, get on YouTube and watch that promo. Watch that, what do you call it, Joe? A wash or whatever that's called.
We use it as a wash, but
yeah, it's fantastic. A lot of good video. And so, Mark, talking about these two teams, let's start with the Bruins. They've fallen now behind the New York Rangers in the standings. They lost, and we're recording earlier in the week, so they'll have played a couple more games against, I believe, the Devils coming up and another one tonight. Sabres. And so, but they had a 4-game skid. What the hell? What's happening with this team? And you and I talked about this either last week or the week before about why some of this has happened, and now they're going to fall on a few hard times. And I got some thoughts about the leadership of this team, but what do you make of this?
Well, Chris, defensively, they which should be one of the strengths of this team is the defensively. Offensively, we thought that they would struggle because of the lack of depth at center and other things. But defensively, Chris, they're not clearing the puck out of their own end. Okay, they're not being physical. Okay, they're being outbanged, out physical. They can't get the puck. They're clearing the puck. They're giving teams easy shots on goal because they can't clear the puck. They can't kill a power play. But defensively, Chris, if the goalie's not standing on his head, they've lost 4 games in a row, Chris, but it's been more than 4 games where they have struggled as a team defensively. And the other thing is, Chris, this team doesn't have, like I think I mentioned last week or the week before, Chris, they had given up 6 leads going into the third period.
Yeah, 2 overtime losses in a
right?
row.
Yeah. This team doesn't have that killer instinct. They don't have that guy that can put the game away for them, Chris. They just don't seem to have it. You say leadership. Maybe it's leadership, but they just don't have that guy. Pasternak should be that guy, Chris. He's not, you know what I mean? Bergeron's gone. Those guys are gone now. Who's that guy that can put that knife and, put that knife, the steak down and say, okay, that's it, game's over. They don't seem to have that person either.
Or to rally them, Mark. Or to see, this is the thing. And this is what I was a little concerned about. Marchand, wearing that C. And I mean, it's all semantics. I mean, he's wearing the C. I mean, that's just a symbol. I mean, he's always been the assistant or associate captain, whatever.
Yeah.
But it seemed always like Bergeron get these guys together. Chara could get these guys together and say, okay, what the hell are we doing here? Get them in practice, have a team players only meeting, all these kinds of things. I don't know if Marchand's built that way. And here's the thing with the coach. This is testing now the mettle of this coach because they're bad in their own end, as you say, with McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo. These, they have a pretty good defensive unit. They should be better. The goalies, we said as the goalies go, this team goes. But the goalies are playing pretty well. I mean, Swayman had 28 saves the other night, and you lose the game 4-1. Now he gave up 4 goals. I get that, but you got to be able to pick them up once in a while, and they're not being able to do that. And they're not being able to transition back on defense, which means the centers are not playing well. Now you lost, Patriots, you lost him going to the Canadian that juniors tournament. Yep. And now they've got a couple of prospects. One became ineligible, academically because he's still in school and all that. So they're falling on some hard times. And now we have to see what the hell is the coach like? Because they didn't have this problem last year. They just coasted. They went right through the regular season and you didn't see it to the playoffs.
And he was allowed, Chris, to be last year a different type of a coach, unlike the previous coach where he rode the players. He was a little hard on them. This guy was able to be almost like a players coach. And they were that was okay last year, but then that, Chris, I think hurt them a little bit in the playoffs when they had to come back against some adversity.
Yeah, absolutely did.
And Chris, when he was hired, whether this guy was the right fit for this, you're hiring him, but they did so well last year. But now we're starting to see, is this the guy that can do what needs to be done now that they're struggling?
Yeah, I mean, and they have a bullseye on their back. This is the team that everybody's gunning for. They finished with the best record. I get it. They got bounced, but they're still the Boston Bruins coming into your house. You want to beat them. So how's the coach going to be? How's the leadership going to be on this team? And they're going to have to make a move. They're going to.
And Chris, I was just going to say, there's no reinforcements coming within your organization. Maybe you could bring up a couple of these young guys, prospects, but there's going to have to be a move, Chris. And you took the words right out of my mouth. There's going to be a move.
Yeah, and as a contrast, the Celtics. Look, tops in the NBA right now, Mark. So the first question is that I have for you, and we'll break down, but is this the best team in the NBA? Top to bottom.
Yes.
Why?
Let me say this. If Porzingis is healthy and on the court, yes.
Why?
Because, Chris,
why isn't Denver better?
Because I think the Celtics, Chris, have more offensive weapons than Denver has. I think we're capable of playing better defense when we're focused, I think. And I also think that Porzingis, Chris, allows Brown and Tatum to do some different things because he can not only is he a defender underneath the basket and can block shots, but he's able to kick, he's able to screen, he's allowing them, and not only them, Chris, Holiday and White have been getting involved. When they're on the court together, Chris, they're able to do things they weren't able to do last year. Okay. So I think if Denver played this team, Chris, don't get me wrong. If they play Denver, Denver will win a couple of games. You ain't going to shut. Jokic's going to win a couple of games without question. But I just think, Chris, we have too many horses. If they're all healthy and they're all playing well, who do you guard? If you take Tatum out of the game, you got or Brown out of the game. It's no longer Tatum and Brown. You got Porzingis. You've got Drew Holiday. If White can stay healthy. Last year, he got dinged up at the end of the year. Remember? He really wasn't healthy in the playoffs last year, White, even though he was playing through it.
Yeah.
I just think there's too much there, Chris, to try and stop if they all play their game. And Mazzulla can get his head out of his behind and,
Well, that's the thing. See, the thing to me is, and I think they're the best team in the NBA too, and it's for a couple of reasons. Obviously, talent-wise, I think, top to bottom. Bench, sometimes I feel like the bench is a little
They still might need
lacking.
some help
Yeah,
there.
they still need some help there. And, well, they need a big man. And then this week they're talking about a possible trade for Olynyk getting back from Utah. I think that would be a good ad. I mean, he's 55% from the field, 42 from three-pointers. He averages 5 rebounds a game and 21 minutes a game. That's perfect for the bench. That's great. That's what you want to see because it's December. This thing goes till June. What's Horford going to be like? What's Porzingis going to be like? So I like the idea of bringing a guy like that in if you don't have to give up too much to get him, which you shouldn't. But I think they're the best team in the NBA, and the road trip really showed some of this. I think Tatum especially has grown up some. You see the maturation, where he's distributing, he's picking guys up, he's elevating the play of guys around him. You can see it. And I honestly think White is an all-star. He's not going to make it, and he's not going to make it because of the names. He's not the name, but he's an all-star in my book. I mean, I'm not sure how many guards are playing better than he is right now, than Derek White. But Joe Mazzulla, now, for as much crap, and Brown, Jaylen Brown, for as much crap as I give both of them, and I give them a lot of crap, Jaylen Brown is having a great year. And he's having a great year because he's using Porzingis. He's working well with him. We thought it would be Tatum, but it's really Brown who's working well. They work well together, the in-and-out game, the pick and rolls, and all these things that you see in Brown. He's not dribbling off his leg too much anymore. But Joe Mazzulla, if you look at that road trip, Golden State, we talked about it. They fell back on their old ways. 58 three-pointers. They didn't really adjust. They didn't change. They weren't hitting them. So they didn't change. They didn't do anything about it. And end of game stuff, Mazzulla still has work to do with that. He still has work. But what I noticed in the Laker game, 2 games later, they were shooting. They got into a little rut on three-pointers. They were shooting poorly from the three-point line. They adjusted. The second half they came out, they went to the because nobody can defend them at the rim. No. I mean, if they choose to go and play low basketball, you know what I mean? Post up stuff, drive to the lane, kick out. If they choose to do that, there's nobody that can defend them at the rim. And I thought Mazzulla did a good job against the Lakers of adjusting to that. Now, if he's going to mature as a coach that way, yeah, they need that. They need to do that to come into play that kind of game, Mark, in order to be unstoppable. Right now, they're the best team in basketball, but to be unstoppable, you got to play at the rim. No?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with that, Chris. And I think even though, Chris, at the end of that Golden State game in the press conference, he defended what they did and said, we did what we were supposed to do. We just got to execute better. I'm okay with the shots we took, and he played that game with the press, and you and I got on him for that, remember? But I think the light bulb did go off, Chris, because the next two games, even the game before the Lakers game, you saw a different type of a team coming out of that Golden State game. Okay, even though he's not going to acknowledge, the ending of that wasn't what we didn't play well there. We took too many of this or too many of that. He wouldn't acknowledge that, but the next two games showed you. Maybe it was the veteran. Maybe it was those guys he's got on the bench with him, Chris, the veteran coaches who said, "Joe, listen, we can't do that, right?" And then they adjusted. And maybe it wasn't him because his talk was that, but it was an adjustment. And the other thing I'm going to say, Chris, is you brought up Brown and Porzingis, and you're 100% right about the two of them. But I am going to say this about Tatum. You did say he's matured, and I think the reason he's matured that has allowed Brown and Porzingis to do that, because in that Laker game, Chris, in the first quarter and a half quarter, they jumped out to a big lead, and then the Lakers came back and made it close for a while. They were scoring at will and doing things on offense, and Tatum allowed them to do it. He took a step back. Tatum didn't try to force anything, Chris. Like, remember in the old days, he had to get his shots off, even if it wasn't in the flow of the – like, he's kind of taking a step back from that, and he's kind of allowing these guys to play their game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I think he has matured.
He definitely has, and we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. We're going to cover it every step of the way, and let us know what you think in Heated Hotline and in our mailbag. But B's and C's was presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. Here we come back. We're going to welcome in the nation, Pat's Nation, coming up.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Hey, going to play on New Year's Eve, going to Buffalo. Let's break it down. Pat's Nation. Joe. $1 p.m. Eastern, the Patriots travel up to Buffalo to take on the Bills, and that's the kickoff Eastern time. Mark. You said they can't win another game this season. Well, I mean, we pick them against them every week, but this time I think it's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, Chris, I'll say this.
But in order for them to win, what would they?
In order for them to win, Chris, they're gonna have to do the same thing they did on offense. Last game, mistake free, no turnovers. You're gonna have to. I think against Buffalo,
they beat them before.
Chris, They did. No, they did. They absolutely did. Mac Jones beat them. I do think, Chris, you're going to have to run the ball a little bit more this week. I don't think you can do what you did in Denver last week and win in Buffalo. And the reason I say that is because if you've watched Buffalo's last 3 or 4 games, Chris, Buffalo was life and death against the Chargers the other night, and I think the Chargers stink. But Buffalo gets pressure on the quarterback, Chris. Their front four, they designed some different blitz packages. Buffalo has, in their last 3 or 4 games, Chris, gotten pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So they probably will get pressure on Zappe. If you're going to run the same type of offense, you're going to have to run the ball more with Elliott and a little bit more play action, and because I just don't think you can go in with that same philosophy you had in Denver. Just don't make any mistakes, play defense, turnover, special teams. Maybe we can win this. That ain't going to cut it in Denver because in Buffalo, because Buffalo, Chris, is playing for their playoff lives. They're going to win out. And don't you think Buffalo doesn't want revenge for that game earlier in the year? Because they do.
Yeah, I think that obviously the Patriots beat them once. Now, personnel-wise, it was a little different. The Patriots now have some injuries, but from a defensive, and listen, I agree. I don't know how well Zappe's going to do holding up. I think that the Buffalo's defense is. I think they understand what to do. That they got to come after him, and they got to force him to move out and throw the ball on the run. That's what we're going to have to force him to do. But defensively, Mark, it's about it starts and stops with Josh Allen. This team is hot right now, Buffalo. This is probably the team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it would be difficult for them to not make the playoffs. They'd have to lose this game, and I'm with you. Their backs are against the wall. Now, I'm not as concerned with Buffalo throwing the ball down the field against us, believe it or not. I'm not.
Middle of the field, Chris. Your middle of the field
middle
scenario
of the field's
here.
a problem because when you break the thing down and you look at Josh Allen, first of all, the Patriots are real good against the run. They're really, really good. And so they're going to have to be. You got to hold them to under 100 yards rushing, and then you got a chance. But when you talk about holding them to under 100 yards rushing, it's Josh Allen you have to hold. Because once he gets out and he gets up the middle of the field, there's no one that's going to get him. There's no one's going to run with him. There's nobody going to catch him. I mean, to me, this is a big Wilson, Mapu, those kinds of guys are going to have Duggar. These are the guys that are going to have to play well in the center of the field. Bentley can't hang. He's not going to be able to hang. And you certainly can't play man coverage against his team. You can't do it because if you turn your back to Josh Allen, he'll peel off 20, 30-yard runs. It's an uphill battle for this defense. It's going to be. I think they can get some pressure on him. I really do, and they're going to have to do that. So to me, you got to win on first down. And the key to this is you have to believe it. You have to try to get a lead against this team. You got to try to get a lead. So you got to be able to get our pass rush to be able to do just that, and not have to worry so much about run blitzes and anything else. But to me, Mark, that's the only way to handle this. I mean, the line is 12.
Wow. That's a lot.
But I mean, defensively, I mean, how else can you? I mean, that's the breakdown. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
You got to get pressure. You got to keep him in, and you got to hope your secondary in the middle of the field stands up. Mark, can they do it?
No. And Chris, I'm going to tell you, I don't think they will, Chris. And I'm going to tell you this: when they played us in New England, Chris, Ramondre Stevenson had a good game. So going back to that, I honestly think you can run the ball against this defense, Chris. I honestly think that Elliott could have a strong game if you decide to focus on with him. Because I think Elliott has stuff left in the tank. You didn't use him in Denver. You used him in the passing game, not in the run game. But I think you can run the ball on Buffalo, Chris. I really do.
Well, let's see what happens because, I mean, if somehow the Patriots can seem to pull this thing off in Buffalo.
Well, now listen.
Well, okay. Well, this is the question. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Is his job, because that's all the story has been. Is his job saved? Is Belichick coming back? Is his job? All you hear about is a done decision.
So I've told you that I think he should go, and I stand by he should go. However, over the last week or two, the more and more I've thought about this, and the more and more I've played into the fact that what this means for Kraft's legacy and bringing Belichick back, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to reiterate any of that. I think he's coming back anyways, Chris. Now, I'm in your camp now. I think he's coming back anyways.
I do too. I mean, we talked about that last week. I think he's coming back too, and I think that we talked about all the reasons for that, but everybody's got it as a done deal, man.
Nah, I don't believe that.
This is a done deal.
I don't believe that.
Is it going to be Mayo? Is it?
But I don't think this game's going to make a difference, Chris. Either way, in that decision.
So you don't think? So obviously you didn't think the Denver win made a difference, or the Pittsburgh win. You really don't think if they go up to Buffalo and they win this game, it doesn't matter, huh?
Well, maybe. Maybe. If they beat Buffalo,
I mean, like what I'm saying is for those of you, for those of the people who think he's done.
Yeah, when I'm saying it doesn't make a difference, when I'm saying it doesn't make a difference, Chris, I'm putting this down as a loss. But I don't think this loss means anything in the decision making. Is my point. I don't think they can go up there and win this week. I really don't. But hey, I'm always wrong. What the hell do I know?
All right. So what do you got for a score?
Listen, I'm going to go on a limb here. You're going to think I'm absolutely crazy. The wheels are finally going to come off the bus. The wheels are coming off the bus this week. 41
Ooh.
13 Buffalo. The wheels are coming off the bus on Bailey Zappi, but it's just going to be an ugly turnover.
You think it's going to be because of turnovers?
I think it's going to be offensive. Yes, I think Bailey Zappi is going to wet his pants a little bit this week up there. And yep. And it's not going to be that. And I'm not going to blame it on the defense. I think it's going to be on Zappi and on that offense. And I think the wheels come off the bus. 41 points this week. 41-13, 41-17, something in that range.
I don't think Buffalo covers here. The 12 points that it is right now. Anyway, I think the defense will play. I think they'll play as they've played. I think they'll play pretty well. I don't think they're, everybody's giving the defense props, and I get it, but they still can't close against the good teams. They still can't beat the good teams on defense, which has just been this MO for the last several years. And this will be another case of that. So I think 24-14. I agree with you on offense. No chance. But defensively, I think they'll hang. But 24-14, I get it on Buffalo. So speaking of spreads and making some money, let's talk Sunday spread, Mark. Let's talk about some locks we have. Last week was okay. I mean, I had a couple of good picks last week. But what are you looking at? What are you looking at?
So this week, Chris,
these people need to make money. These people need to get some money back from Christmas.
So, Chris, this week, I am going to say this. I'm going to start with New Year's Day. Not even the NFL. I'm going to start with 2 college games. You need to go bet Alabama getting points for Michigan. Please go take Alabama because Michigan is, I'm telling you, Michigan should not be favorite in this football game. Take Alabama, take the points. It's low line, but it don't matter. Alabama's going to win the game.
Yeah.
And if you want to parlay a college game, take Washington plus the points. They've been disrespected all season, every game. Texas is not that good. Washington is going to beat them as well. And then in the NFL, Chris, take Tampa Bay minus the 2.5. I think it's 2.5, 3 at home against New Orleans. New Orleans stinks. And the other team I like at home, because I think Pittsburgh stinks. I don't care that they won last week. Take Seattle at home.
Okay. Yeah, and I, that's one of the games I had, Mark. I had one of those games because I think Geno Smith is back, and I think offensively they're going to move the ball. Listen, Pittsburgh's defense is disappointing me. When the time comes for them to play, to really need it, they don't show up. They're kind of one of those teams again against the bad teams, but not even that. It's up and down and the drama. That's Pittsburgh. They're going to go up to Seattle, and that place is going to be nuts because Seattle's fighting too, right?
Seattle's fighting for the playoffs, Chris. If Seattle wins out, I think they're in.
Right. So I don't think they're going to be able to hang, especially offensively, Pittsburgh. So 3.5 to me is a gift. And that, people are still high up on Pittsburgh right now. That line may drop to 3.
Yeah.
And if it drops to 3.
By the way, Chris, last week, Pittsburgh, I know it's George Pickens over 200 yards receiving. I think we moved up to take Tyquan Thornton over George Pickens. I'm just going to throw it out there.
You liked him. That was your guy.
Pickens, I like Pickens. I said, if we didn't have the injuries in college.
Thornton. I think Thornton should be a player.
Roll the tape. I said if Pickens didn't have the night of the draft show, I said if he didn't have injuries, he's a first-round draft pick in college.
I think Thornton's a player, he said. Okay.
I did say that, but I didn't say I'd take him over Pickens.
No, you didn't. New Orleans at Chicago. Chicago's given up 3.
No, New Orleans is at Tampa, Chris, I think.
Yeah, sorry. New Orleans is at Tampa, but the Chicago game is what I'm talking about. Chicago's given up 3. I like them this week. I like how they've been playing. And for them, there's no reason to lose. I mean, they don't need to lose. I mean, they get their pick is gone. Their first round pick is to Carolina, right? And Fields has been playing well. They've been playing well. I like them at home, giving up 3 points. Take Chicago. And then the New Orleans game I'm talking about is at Tampa. I like Tampa as well in this game. I think New Orleans is a fraud. I know this is a game nobody's paying attention to, but I like Tampa Bay at home with giving up the 3 points. I think some of these teams are checked out. So I like some of the home teams. Betting game, bet a lot of the home teams now because the road teams, if they're not in the playoffs, they'll probably have checked out. So listen, Mark, it's New Year's.
Yes.
Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
So you guys, listen, have a happy and safe New Year to you both and your family and everyone out there. Make sure you're safe and happy, and it's New Year. So everybody get ready for 2024. Mark and his, we'll hear what Mark's New Year's resolution is next week. So Corso and Catone was presented by Corso Law Group. Hey, get on, watch. All our shows are up for you to listen, watch, subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and come back next week, noon Eastern. We'll talk a recap for that Buffalo game. The Jets game, we'll talk a little bit about that. Celtics, Bruins, PC, Friars, Catone's comments, anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Happy New Year.
Now by Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.